Hello, everyone. My name's Joey, and today I'm going to be talking to you folks about universal design for instruction. Let's first talk about what universal design is. So universal design is an approach to design that aims to make spaces and products accessible to the widest reaching audience. And ideally, that is everyone. So the classic example of universal design is the curb cut. So the curb cut, if you don't know, it's when the curb tapers down to become level with the street. And these didn't really exist before the Second World War. But as folks came back from the war and needed greater accessibility in spaces, we started to see curb cuts, and now they've become ubiquitous. And they are not just seen as an aid anymore. They are beneficial to everyone. They're beneficial to not just folks in wheelchairs, but people who have limited mobility, people pushing strollers, and even corgis. So when it comes to universal design for learning, the goal is to plan to reach all of your students by anticipating any barriers that might exist for them. So one of the first things I want to point out is you'll notice that we have a live transcription happening for this presentation right now on Zoom. And this is available to anyone with a university account. You can also select on the transcript option, it's the little CC on your menu at the bottom of your Zoom. And you can select view transcript, and it'll appear kind of like your chat window. And you can view the entire transcript of this conversation or any conversation you're having in Zoom. You'll also notice that in this slideshow that we're using high contrast text with background, so it's easy to read. So with universal design in mind for your course, you want to try and keep flexibility in mind. With universal design, learning is framed around this idea of variability rather than disability. So you're taking into consideration all the different kinds of students that you might have. One of the ways you can do this is when you're designing your course, making it accessible to everyone by offering a variety of different deliveries, ways that you present the information and your content to your students. You can also offer a variety of different assignments, so different ways that the students are able to show you what they know, whether that's demonstrating knowledge or skills that they've learned. Another thing you can do is get feedback from your students. You might not be aware of certain barriers that exist for each individual in your course, and you don't simply need to ask for critique from these students. You can also ask your students, what are some ways that I can provide solutions to these barriers? How can I remove these barriers for you? Is there anything that you're familiar with, or do you have things that other instructors do that I can implement in my course? So it's fine to ask your students what barriers exist for them and how you might remove those barriers for them. Here are some ways you can make your materials more accessible. You can add captioning to your recorded content. I'm going to provide some links for you folks at the end of this little webinar, and I'll put that in the chat. But there was a 2016 survey conducted by the University of Oregon. Over 2,000 post-secondary students across the US were asked if closed captions were helpful, and an overwhelming 98% said yes. And in the link, if you want to access that survey, you can take a look. It's probably obvious, but a majority of students with English as an additional language not only said that it was helpful, but that it was very helpful or extremely helpful. You can also take into consideration the kinds of documents you're sharing and using with your students. So some formats like PDF aren't always entirely accessible, while formats like Word and Google Docs are accessible in terms of they allow for screen reader access. To figure out whether or not a PDF document is accessible is there's a little bit of work with that. There are free online plugins that you can get that can tell you whether or not a PDF is accessible. And I'll provide a link in the chat afterwards that will lead you to more information on that. But again, consider the kinds of documents you're sharing with your students. And when you're organizing materials, consider coding them with symbols rather than color coding things. I think it's roughly 5 to 10% of the population is estimated to experience some form of color blindness. You should try to teach your students how to use any kind of new technology rather than assuming that they'll just figure it out. So either in your synchronous time, showing them how to use something, or asynchronously providing links on how to use certain programs or software, and that can live on your e-class. And I want to talk about just building a culture of inclusivity. Your class is online, but you can still shape the culture that exists in that virtual space. So you get to set the tone by modeling desirable behavior. So hopefully it doesn't end up just being you trying to accommodate for all these students, but you build a culture where everyone in the space takes into account the principles of universal design when they're interacting with their peers or when they're working in group projects, what have you, so that, yes, it kind of shares the load. And I know that here at CTL, I feel that it's a great example of a space that's transferred predominantly to an online working environment that's made a concerted effort to create a positive, open, and collaborative space. So yeah, you have a lot of influence on just shaping the culture in your course.